Hello everyone, thanks for joining me. I've had quite a few emails from people asking me to go into a little bit more detail and explain tone breaks on the XP Deus. Why do I use tone breaks rather than discrimination? Here we go. First of all, let's go into the Deus detect screen and call up program number 3, Deus Fast, because that's probably one of the most common used Deus programs, and we can talk about tone breaks by adjusting the Deus Fast program. Before I go into the menu, just take a look at the top bar on the interface, just where it says Deus Fast, just under. You'll see the left hand side portion is greyed out, and that means that that part of the discrimination range is active. It's being rejected, and we can find that out by going into menu, discrimination 6.1. So the discrimination 6.1 is relating to the greyed area on the detect screen. So if we turn the discrimination all the way up to 50, which I've got now, go back into the detect screen, and you'll now see half of it is greyed out. So that's a quick visual indication of whether you're using discrimination or not. And this is important when using tone breaks, especially my custom programs. Okay, let's go back to the menu, turn the discrimination back to 6.1 and carry on with the tone breaks. Now, 6.1 is the factory default iron rejection discrimination for the Deus Fast program. If we press the expert mode and go into free tones, press the expert again, you'll see the tone breaks come up, and once again the top row is 202, and you can see that top left portion of it is greyed out, and that is corresponding to the greyed out area we just saw on the detect screen. So what I'm saying here is 202 in tone breaks, that top row is related, it's connected to the discrimination. So in order to make an open discrimination, we need to trick the machine into thinking that doesn't exist anymore, and that's why we assign the tone break below the 202 to 202. So let's do that. Let's go down one, it says 518, let's go down to 202. Okay, so we should be reading now 202, 202, 644. Now that's perfect. If you just want to run it like that, that's brilliant. But remember, we're still running discrimination because the top bar is greyed out. Before I go any further, let's just go down one to our positive tone, which is 644, and turn that up to 881. 881, that's absolutely perfect. And now let's start introducing some tone breaks. So remember, that top one, we need to trick the machine into thinking it's not there. So if we press the arrow key again, you'll see the top one is 6.1. That's your discrimination. Turn that down to 6.4. We don't need it anymore. So it's completely open. Okay, let's press it down to go down when it says 76. Now let's turn that 76 down to 9 if I'm using the ultimate program. That's it, 9. So now we've got 202, the top bar doesn't exist anymore. 202, the second bar, which is our new iron tone, and the tone break is at 9. Now there's one thing which has always confused me about the tone break at 9, whereas your discrimination channel is tone break 6.1, or discrimination at 6.1 should I say. So these two settings don't correlate with each other. So why don't our tone break be set at 6.1? Well, if we do that, the machine's too biased towards iron. It's very, very snappy, it's very, very shouty. So by turning it up to 9, we almost replicate the original discrimination setting of 6.1. So what if you wanted a free tone program? your iron tone, your middle tone and a high tone. You can designate this high tone to whatever you want. You need to go into 4 tones to make a 3-tone program because that top one is invisible again. So let's go into 4 tones, select expert, and you'll see there it's saying 202, 202, 881, which mimics our 3-tone program, but your 4th tone is 725. We need to turn that up a little bit to give it that high tone. So let's give it a tone of 951. Drop down 725, go up to 951. And that's it, we're at 951. And you'll see your tone break there is at 84. It changes at 84. So anything above a target ID of 84, it will give the 951 tone. But I think using an open discrimination with tone breaks rather than discrimination makes a machine a little bit more dynamic. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to make 2 programs, one the standard day as fast and the second program the day as fast using no discrimination and tone breaks, and let's just hear if there's a difference. Here we go. So I've made 2 programs. One's D1, which is a standard day as fast program. The second is D2, which is the day as fast program with the tone breaks like we just talked about. And also the tone is 881 on the D2 program. So let's get started with program D1, which is a standard day as fast, and I'll let you listen to it. Here we go. And there's not too much ground feedback because we're using that 6.1 discrimination again. Right, just a plus button and we go into the D2 program. I don't know if you can see that, you'll have to take my word for it. D2, 3 tones, and there's your tone breaks we just talked about. I won't spend too much time on them. D2. Straight into a target there actually. Let's go to D1. Still get the target. D2. I'll dig that one in a minute. I'll just mark that because I haven't got my spade with me. So we're on D2 now. I'll tell you what, I'll keep quiet and I'll put the 2 settings side by side and I'll just swap between the 2 audios. I think that'd be a better demonstration. Well, there you go. What can't speak can't lie, as they say. The D2 program was much more dynamic. Now, the downside of using the D2 program and rejecting that top discrimination bar is you've now got no iron tone volume. So the iron tone will be at the same pitch as your good target tone, whereas the standard day as fast, you could change the iron tone, you could lower it to almost nothing, you could turn it off in fact. So that's the only down point I can see with using tone breaks. But some people don't like to hear the ground feedback, whereas I do. I think it keeps me much more alert and it gives me a good idea of what I'm walking over, whether the ground changes and stuff like that. There's just one quick experiment I want to do now, because as you can see, we used tone break of 9 on the tone break D2 program, but we're using a discrimination of 6.1 on the standard Deus fast. Now, what would the machine be like if we change that tone break down to 6 to exactly replicate the Deus fast discrimination setting? Here we go. So we're in D2, menu, expert, expert, go down 6.4. Now there's 9. Let's drop that down. We won't get 6.1, we'll get 6. That's good enough. So here we go, we've got a tone break of 6 now. Here we go. You could still use it at 6.1 tone break, but you get the odd false spike with it. That's the iron cracking through. That's the iron cracking through. There you go. So that's why I use a tone break at 9 or 10 rather than 6. I think if I was on a really good site where there's skeets or cut quarters and things like that, maybe I would drop that tone break to around a 6.1, something like that. But for general searching on these fields, I think 9 and 10 is pretty good. Well, I hope that's given you a little bit of an insight into tone breaks and why I use them. All we're doing is removing the discrimination channel from the menu and running the machine with an all metal platform and assigning tone breaks dependent on target conductivity. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you've liked it, please give the subscribe button a little press. It really does help with the channel and the algorithms. Thank you for watching. Once again, it's been emotional, and I'll hopefully see you on the field again very, very soon. Bye for now.